Hey Divine Beauties, Ingrid, Anna. I was just about to go for a rest and a nap before I pick up my daughter from school, and I've been having an interesting day, and my ad manager asked me to edit an ad, and it was all about my journey from spiritual, emotional, financial poverty to one of divine inherent riches and owning my power. And I was really tapping into the journey and the story and wanting to tell the truth of it. And the truth of it really was that when I was in that spiritual, emotional anarchy, I literally felt like I was dying. And when I was writing the copy, I wanted to say, I wanted to soften it and say, like, I felt like my soul was dying. But actually it was deeper than that. I literally felt like almost like everything was just fading and melting away, because I was in a state of chronic panic and overwhelm. I had lost my company. I had a clothing line in New York City, and I'd raised all this money, and I had a lawyer steal my corporate kit and write out all this stock to him. And it was like something out of a movie. And I kind of allowed that to happen because I knew that he wasn't completely trustworthy, and I was the one that gave him permission to have the corporate kit go to his place and to his house. And anyway, so he basically stole my company off me. So that meant I had to start my business off from scratch, literally zero. I folded that company in New York and I moved home to Australia. Hey Charisma, I'm telling a very deep story, and please bear with me because I'm a little bit unwell. Well, I'm kind of good, I'm really good, but I'm going through a major ascension right now. I've got a lot going on. My dad's dying, and I'm there feeding my dad, and I'm trying to take care of my health, my clients, and everything. Anyway, so it's a lot going on. And I'm just tuning into this journey that I've been on, and the truth is that I was kind of broken for a while after that journey, and I didn't even realize that. I wish someone had said, Ingrid, you're going to have to snap yourself out of it. And that's the message today. Do not allow your past losses, any sense of debt, bankruptcy even. I know people who've been bankrupt and built their fortunes up from scratch. I didn't marry rich. I come from a fortunate background, but I wasn't given money and handouts. And someone recently got on a call with me and kept saying, are you married? Something about marrying rich. And my husband and I had a big giggle, and I said, my husband had about $600 after a divorce and doing some of the things that he did in his life and his business, and we had to start all over again. So I didn't have his money to rely on, although he's always been incredibly supportive of me. But I was in a state of panic, constantly thinking, can I do it? Can I build back up again? Oh my God, I'm a failure, I'm a loser. I was constantly waiting for external sort of validation. And I see it happening with clients as well. Like, I have a client who made $20,000 really quickly, and ever since then she's been in a spiral, listening to her husband now saying, oh, you haven't made as much money this month, and she keeps going into this overwhelm and keeps buying into it. And she's like, what's going on? I'm like, you are allowing this to happen. If you want to build your empire and you've had an extreme amount of loss, you need to, number one, forgive yourself. You need to recalibrate. You need to forgive all others, right? You need to stop the story. You need to look at the gifts and the message from that journey. You need to take full responsibility for it. So no one did anything to you. No one stole my company really from me. I allowed it to happen. And then what's the blessing and the gift in it, right? The lesson for me is I know now how to really, really honor and trust myself. I know how to build a business from scratch with very little capital. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. I know how to be incredibly resilient. So I feel like sometimes, and I don't mean to be cruel or too harsh here, but let's get real. Life and being a human being, we will suffer losses, right? But it is always our choice on how to respond to it. So will you allow it to drive and drag you into a big, black hole where you literally suffer and allow yourself to be swallowed up in it? Or do you decide to take that shiz and use it as that fertile ground and rise up? So no matter where you are at, you always have the choice to rise up. And I don't know about you, but when your back's up against the wall, right, and you're in that oh my god moment, you just got two choices. You either continue to go into a big black gaping hole of just complete chaos and drama, or you say stuff this, and you cultivate this sense of love and fire and warriorness and purpose and vision, and you start to shift your life. Breath in, breath out. You start to change in every single moment. So I call it the divine sacred vow, where you say, I've had enough, I want more, I desire more, and you start to feel into that. So do not allow your losses to become a complete and utter devastation for you. And if you've done that right now and you're spiraling out of control, I'm going to call it stop it. You're doing it to yourself now. So I send you love for the trauma and the pain that you've gone through. God knows I've been through it all myself on many levels, physically, emotionally, financially. I've literally had 3 huge surgeries on my uterus. I've literally been cut open. I've had a full-on abuse in my life as well, and I'm certainly no victim, okay? But that's the truth. People think, oh, Ingrid, she's just got it all down. So the biggest lesson that I've learned from having all that kind of trauma and feeling like you're completely alone is the beautiful sort of process and ritual and prayer of getting down on your hands and knees, and you start praying. You know, it's like prayer, an invocation to dear creator of all that is, to support you and love you and to hold you into the vision that you want to create, to teach you and show you what you need to do to rise, to be the woman who claims that for herself. And then you never want to get up, right? You always want to be in a state of divine and holy prayer. So I never work alone, right? I remember someone saying to me the other day, oh, you know, I don't really know if I could do a good job at that. I don't really know if I can do that job in the business. It was actually my husband. He said, I don't know if I could really do it. I'll do it. And I said, you know, I've never really until now, because I have real cash flow and capital to spend money on hiring people to do certain jobs for me. But for me, I've never had that luxury in my life to even really wonder, can I do it? I've just had to do it. I've just had to do it. So whether it's writing copy, you know, writing up a funnel, figuring things out, getting on video, it's practice, it's consistency, it's throwing yourself in the deep end and leaping. You know, if I need to figure something out or learn something, I do it. Right? It's resilience. It's that commitment. It's really, really taking that full responsibility. I also do one other really cool thing that's really helped me a lot so much is that I speak to my brain and my body, and I ask myself to hear and receive, right? To hear the information, to process information. Most women are in such a state of fight and flight, right? That when I'm speaking to them, they can't even hear what I'm sometimes saying. Like, we teach really hardcore funnels and marketing and content and creation and IP and the financial planning of it all, right? So you need to be able to be in a relaxed state and enough, right, to be able to compute and receive and marry left brain to right brain and the feminine to the masculine. So there needs to be that relaxed response, which is the scientific response within the body, right, where you're cultivating the ability to receive, the ability to stimulate your body's healing powers, right? To stimulate metabolism. It's not from panic, overwhelm, fight, flight. It's from, okay, you know, a certain amount of stress is good, but chronic overwhelm is a pattern, and it's a pattern you need to break if you want to rise up and be a leader diva, right? You really do need to calm it down and also be, I think, a little bit more mature around dealing with setbacks. We all have setbacks. You're going to have setbacks. So you need to be mature in an understanding and have the emotional IQ to be patient with yourself, if you feel like, I tell my students, if you're feeling just so overwhelmed, you go to bed, you have a rest, you watch a chick flick, you cry, you have sex, you get out and play, you spend time in nature, and then you go back and you start again, right? You start again. You take the time to cleanse, have an Epsom salt bath, do your prayers, your mantras, shout, yell, scream, and you come back, right? I call it, I've forgotten, I've written books about this. You call it the wobble effect. This wobble effect. There's no structure, there's no foundation, there's nothing steady. You need a sacred, steady foundation to build an empire. And that starts with you. You're the energetic entity. My client just wrote to me, thank you, Divine One. So that client just wrote to me, my husband, he's doing this to me. He's telling me I'm not making enough money. It's not working. But what's she doing? She's buying into it. So she's now becoming like him and mirroring, and he's just a mirror of her fears, right? So he's saying it's not working, and instead of saying, well, actually, you know what? Get out of my energetic space. I love you, darling. Give you a big kiss. Yes, it is working. And she's in her sensuality. She's in her pleasure. She's out there showing up, speaking up, taking risks, sharing her story. And that particular client, who's amazing at what she does, is not, the universe and life is always speaking to us, right? And it's saying to us all the time, take up more space, take more risks, be more vulnerable, use your voice, tell your story, own your power. We're all being called to expand, right? So if you have scarcity, you're buying into the myth, you're buying into that story. So you can stop it right now and just say, I now choose and make a different new vow of prosperity, love, riches, divinity, as I claim my holy diva power. And it is done. And every day you chant it. I was saying to my girls in High End Empire, my divas, all the mantras, we have deep prayers and healings and meditations, and then all the strategic business training that we have, which is basically like a full-on MBA. And then we have all the psychology and the emotionality of what it really takes to truly allow yourself to not only receive money and success and everything that we desire, but then hold on to it and build it, right? Because often then when someone finds, oh my God, it's easier than I thought and I'm receiving it, they can then go into self-sabotage. So it's about also releasing all of that. But let's be honest, when I've had chronic health issues and adrenal issues, and I had this benign tumor in my uterus, long story, blood pouring out of my body, true story, terrible, lots of operations and blood poisoning and stuff like that, okay? When I was writing my mantras and rewiring my entire life and healing my body, those mantras and the invocations and the prayers that I practiced literally became part of my very being, because I didn't chant them one time. I didn't just do it like on a whim or expect a miracle to unfold just within reading one little mantra or prayer. I literally had to rewire every part of me, and I continue to be working on it as I'm up leveling. It never stops. And I think that's a level of understanding the breadth. You won't stop up leveling until the day that you die, and then you'll probably up level into a whole other dimension, right? So I had a beautiful prayer that I wrote when I was healing my body, and it was an alchemy for healing, a mantra for freeing, our feminine flower, our sacred, I don't know what it was, shower. It's time for us to heal our bodies. It's time for us to know our passions. It's time to be free and unlock the chains and dance with me. Oh woman, now it's time to live in ecstasy. And I have hundreds of these invocations and prayers that I know now because I've chanted them so much. That one, when I used to chant that one when I was healing from my eating disorder. But really, making money is an act of self-love as well, to be able to receive and to love and honor your sacred work, to love yourself enough to use your voice to reach your audience, to love yourself enough to claim your power and to show up and shine and take up space. Even talking to you now, you know, I could be uncomfortable about it, but what guides me always is an act of service. I'm not going to hide. I have been paralyzed by fear, and I refuse to do that to myself and to strangle myself any longer, energetically, politically, socially, or financially, and physically. I refuse to do that to myself, so I show up. So don't buy into other people's stories. Most people are very, very wounded and battling with their own stuff, right? So the best way to deal with that is to love them, but do not buy into it, because if you buy into it, you're actually doing them a disservice, right? I mean, I'm not like pointing the finger about wounds. I'm wounded, right? I have my wounds, many, many wounds, right? That I'm currently always releasing and working on. So that's just the state. We come here to work through these wounds. But, you know, when I met my husband, he said to me, you know, Ingrid, don't marry me for money because I don't have any. And I was like, oh, I'm just having a fling with this guy. I don't care. I don't really care about his financial situation. Anyway, I happened to fall in love with him. And then, you know, I was feeling, you know, one day I was caught off guard and I didn't feel okay with it anymore because I'd made a commitment to this person and I fell in love with this person, and suddenly I was really thrown off by his financial situation and the scarcity that was there and the story that was there. But the only reason I was really thrown off by his story was because it was pushing my buttons about my own fear. Like, if I really honored my own ability to make money and stand in my power and really trusted my own self, and I didn't have scarcity within me, why would his story and his relationship to money and himself, or even any opinion that anyone has about me and my business, why would that affect me? It only affects me and pushes my buttons when there is work to be done. You know, the triggering shows us where we get tripped up. Is anyone hearing where I'm coming from on this? So when I began to fill myself up with my own abundance and did my own healing work on myself, any projection or anything coming from the outside no longer bothered me. And you know what happened? My parents, I don't think they even got what I did. My parents, all my friends are like, oh my God, my dad told me to find a man with money, haha. Well, when he's saying that, maybe he's trying to make your life easier. Maybe it's a little bit condescending, but definitely forgiveness that way, because there's a lot of mixed messages going on there for you, Leanne. Absolutely, right? But when I started to make a lot of money, a lot more money, and I started to have this other life, you know what I did? I just gave up trying to get validation from my mother, my father, my sister, my husband, my friends, anyone. I just became this lasered in, and I'm like, you know what? I've built companies before. I've worked in advertising. I worked as a journalist. It's okay. I forgive myself. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna trust my gut, trust my intuition, and I'm going for it, right? And it's almost like I just became my own little energetic vortex of love and divinity and riches. And I kept chanting, I am rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I receive, I receive, I am rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. Even today, if I get thrown off, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. And I mean a deep, 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 riches. And I don't even want to explain myself anymore to come up with a fucking excuse my French. I try not to swear anymore just because I want to hold back. I swear in all my teaching classes, but if I ever want to share this and make it a video, I'll get blocked. But riches stands for, you know, like the radiance, the intelligence, the courage, the cash, the honoring, the health, the happiness, riches, divinity and riches, right? And I just focused in on that, feeling so rich, visualizing, speaking to hundreds of students around the world, visualizing shooting people's video series, visualizing my clients having great success, feeling into the heart space of what that feels like, you know. And last year I was in New York meeting some of my clients for the very first time, who flew in from all around the world to meet me. And you know what it was? The most divine, sacred, beautiful heart connection. And now I do have lots of, you know, I don't know, 50 people in my mastermind and other students that I coach throughout the year, and then my private clients. And that has become my reality. And it's only become my reality by letting go of the story and believing and trusting myself, and then doing that deliberate sacred work every single day to really expand, to reach my audience, and learning everything that I needed to learn. Remember, if you're going to go back and watch more of this video, I talked about the right and left brain and getting out of panic mode in order to ground yourself enough to be able to build something solid, right? And that starts with emotional, energetic grounding. So that's all I had to share today. I'm sending you guys so much love, and I'm going to go and rest a bit. My energy and my frequency is so sensitive right now. I've let go of even more stuff. I'm honoring myself even more deeply. Reading the story about my journey, you know, when I wasn't making money and I felt so broken, I was saying I felt like dying. I felt like I was literally dying. And you can end that. You can absolutely end that. And you just have to reach for something higher. And you have to love, and pour love onto yourself. And it's a healing journey. It's a sacred initiation, I think, business, really. It's a rite of passage for women. You know, we've only started really making our own money over the last, say, 70, 80 years. It's kind of all new. So there's a lot of old karmic wounding around us as women not being commodities or owned by anybody else. So I even know many women who've married rich men and they're used as pawns in those relationships and in those marriages. So, you know, a man is not a financial plan. We have to become financially strong no matter whether we you know, buy into money or not. I would always want it to have my own money. So guys, I'm sending you so much love, and I will speak to you soon. And I've got a training coming up next week. I have a program that I will mention on that training, but the training's going to be epic. It's going to be juicy. It's going to be profound. My focus on anything that I do is to serve. So no matter whether anyone buys anything from me or not, ever chooses to work with me or not, is really not my concern. My concern is to serve, be honest, be authentic, and I don't really need to do much else, right? The rest will be taken care of. So if you feel called at all to join me at sevenfigurediva.com next week, come along, come and listen, tune in, bring a notepad, and I can't wait to serve you there. Okay, blessings. Thank you, love day.